This is the Seahawks podcast, live and uncatfished. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawks, and today I'm joined by my good buddy Clinton Bonner as the Seahawks go on the road to Detroit. Geno Smith has another big day, as he is accustomed to, but he does not come away with the W, Clinton.
Yeah. Hey, Geno's really good. It's a loss, and it's early in the season, Brandon. I'm sure we'll get all into it, but at 3-1, it's a good Detroit team. And I'm not making excuses because there's reasons we lost this game. We'll get into it. But overall, man, look, we can move the ball with anybody. And let's get our core defensive team back and play that game again and see how it looks.
The big story, I think, with this defense, if you don't look at this game and pin it on the fact that defensively they could only get one stop the entire day, that definitely had something to do with it. But even going into this game, especially when you saw the people who were on the inactive list, and it's Boye Mafe, Uchenna Nwosu, Leonard Williams, and you're looking at that going, oh yeah, those guys, it's gonna make it tough. You're gonna need big games from guys then like Draymond Jones and Derek Hall, and really they didn't get those big games from the guys up front. That Julian Loves goes down during the game, and so on defense, I still would have thought, even with all those guys out, that maybe you get, I don't know, more than one stop the entire day. It doesn't happen, though. We've got our Ryan 911 coming in, our live executive producer, saying, "Go Hawks, one down, on to the next. Believe, flock."
Yeah, we got to believe. Thank you, Ryan. That's amazing. The funny part is too, Brandon, you mentioned we didn't get a big game from Hall. Yeah, but he had the great sack and in what would have been a pretty big moment. You mentioned Draymond Jones. He got the safety at the end, maybe a little too late, got washed out a couple times as well. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Like what I liked, listen, I'm not a Pollyanna here. It's just like, look, we played defensively more sound in the second half, but here's the deal. Like, I know people hate talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl with that horrible refereeing job, but if we recall what happened in that Super Bowl, we gave up a 75-yard run to Willie Parker. We gave up a trick play when Pittsburgh was known for trick play touchdowns. And you look at this game, you give up a Philly special, and they give up a 70-yard touchdown with Williams running free, right? So that's you put the DK fumble on top of that, which gave that distance to 21-14 the first half.
Right.
That's ball game. That's it. So you can't give up hokey plays and 70-yard chunk plays on the road and expect to win. With all that, there was a lot to really like about that. I'm sure we could talk about too.
I'd like to shout out Sham, who has become a member on YouTube. So welcome to the flock to Sham.
We'll drink to that.
Nice to see folks shouting them out. So yes, thanks for coming in. Beyond the 2-year grace period, that's fine. We gave you an additional 4 years. That's all good, Sham. Really appreciate you coming on in. Also appreciate Benson DeWalt with the 199 super chat. At least we came in second.
Hey, that's, somebody had to, and we did. So thank you, Benson.
Clinton in for Adam today. He was going to be here, but flights not very cooperative as it turned out for Adam. But that's all right. We got Clinton here joining us. We got Samuel Gelber coming in with a $12 super chat. All the love for this defense optional team. It was defense optional tonight, and the offense could not quite keep up the entire game. And you mentioned the DK fumble. That put him behind early. With that one turnover swung the game then to Detroit and to where they're putting up points on the board. And every time it looked like they're going to have an opportunity to climb back in it, they had that fourth down where they get the ball to JSN. Then Tyler Lockett called for an offensive pass interference penalty. And the officials, they were all over all the penalties, whether or not it was on Detroit, whether or not it was on us, anything, the illegal man downfield, whether it was just like maybe a yard or a smidgen over the line, they were on top of it all night. So as much of a bummer as it was for Tyler to get called in that moment, it's also, that's just the way they were calling the game all day.
Well, I do not blame the refs for they called it by the book, but they consistently called it by the book, except for the part where DK got molested in the end zone, and they didn't call that one for some reason. He's getting like literally accosted, at least mildly petted in the end zone, and yeah, in the way I mean it, and that doesn't get flagged, and then we end up not converting there either. There were some challenges, man, and the Lions were able to convert and score touchdowns clearly. And then we got bottlenecked a little bit, and we got into situations where we're going on 4th down and not quite converting. And the one piece that, like, look, I of course I didn't love the big plays. Of course I don't love losing the turnover battle. Who's going to love that? The one piece that actually bugged me the most, before we probably get to some fun stuff, Brandon, is the in tight, like, let's say, goal to go offense didn't look good. Even the 2-point conversion that we should have converted, because he caught that and his knee was in. They should have stopped that for DK. He caught that ball. But it's still like a less than 50-50. I don't love what I'm seeing when we're like 5 yards to go. And I realize there's 2.5 minutes left. You're like, we need to conserve clock and score a touchdown and get it back. I get that. But you can still run the ball. You could still run the ball within the 5 or 10 yard line, because we were having a lot of success, especially in the second half.
I would have liked to see a little bit of a review on that DK 2-point conversion. At least stop it and take a look, because it was close. And
he
did catch it. And maybe on the review, they end up going with the call on the field just because it was that close. But from depending on the angle that you went with, I could see them saying, when he had control, was the knee over the line? I don't know. I would have liked to see that. Then it would have made it a little bit more interesting. But again, they just were able to find the stops when they needed, or the officials would come up with a stop when Detroit needed it. Yeah. And part of that was on us. And it just, yeah. But going back to the positive.
Yeah, there's lots. What do you got?
Simon Curtis calling out K9 needing the rock more today. How about that flip move where that play was incredible, where he goes back flips over the linebacker and then front flips over the linebacker and keeps running and gets the first down.
Brandon, it was one of the more insane athletic plays I've ever seen. It was incredible for him to, all the things that had to happen in the 2 seconds you just described it, but him to keep his balance the first time, not touch the ground, realize he's still alive, and he kind of stops for like a half a breath, and he like just looks at it, lines it up, and then just does like a small little run at it and tumbles over and then goes. Man, K9 is very, very special. I'm not taking a victory lap, especially during a loss, because I'm not going to do that. What I will say is that for a couple of weeks now, I've been pointing out plays on 3 In, 3 Out, our unique recap show, for anybody out there, being like, look, Grubb is calling plays that will be hyper successful when we get the full allotment out there, and K9 being the centerpiece. There were screens, there was other things that we called out, plays that could have gotten to the edge, where Sharp just isn't that type of back. Not bad, just not that type of back. And then lo and behold, you get a healthy K9 back, and those explosive plays come back in bunches too, Brandon.
The explosion from K9 was nice. I know we've got some folks here in the chat. For some reason, Brandon's comment is now stuck up there. I don't know if you can bring up Livid or Long Livid King right above it, but
that one
was saying the 2-point conversion try was a little over aggressive. It shifted our game strategy. I think the point in that was where they decided to go for 2. And I also noticed Jay saying that Mac needed to make that challenge. And so, yeah, I would have liked to see that. But I think the point there in going for 2 was just because they had been trying to climb back in. It was just an aggressive play, get more points. You want to get points to win. And so that's all I was thinking, that it was just trying to be aggressive and put points on the board there. And, I didn't mind the call to DK, and I didn't really like the next throw, but Simon's saying too aggressive for that early on. I think that's what we're seeing though out of Grubb, is that he's willing to be more aggressive in certain areas. And when you're down that many points, I think it was just, hey, let's get as many points as we can at this point because the defense isn't stopping anything.
I hated it. So I hate taking points off the board and starting to chase ghosts when they're not there.
Sure.
Like you're manifesting a problem in your brain that doesn't actually exist, right? Happens all the time with humans. You're in the shower, you're maybe going for the conditioner, you start having an argument with yourself, but a future argument you think you're going to have, and it's not really a thing, but you're having it anyway. It felt like that to me. It felt like we were kind of chasing the point ghost there, where just get it to 7 and go play. But with that, again, it's like,
I think the idea is that then you are, you get the 2 there, and then you're playing in a position to where you can win it then on the road. Yeah.
I get it. And, and chances are if you miss it the first time, you have a good shot at getting it the second time. So I get all that. I just, I'm a little more, I guess, conservative, old school with my,
right.
Hey, take the point.
Take the points.
Just get within 7. If you want to go for 2 later and take a lead, you can try that. I mean, be high risk, but it's you can try. Man, 42 points. Woof.
42 points. Looking at the stat lines here, Geno Smith finishes the day 38 of 56 for 395 yards. Ends up throwing an interception on the last throw of the game. Took 3 sacks, threw the 1 touchdown. But yeah, Kenneth Walker, 12 carries, 80 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Let's do more of that, right? I do want to stick with Geno for a second, Brandon, because I do want to just recognize it's not just the stat line, because I mean, the protection's still not good. It's not good. How many times did he have to get out, step up into a pocket that was crumbling, escape pod right, and still throw a freaking laser beam on the run? And a couple of them were maybe a DK pass down the sideline that wasn't caught, a JSN back shoulder where JSN's not looking, kind of hits him in the hip late in the game. So some of them were, even the pass to Lockett at the very end when the ball's off his shoulder pad because Connor Williams is snapping it before Bradford gives the look. Even that pass was actually right there. Like he's toe tapping. It's off his fingertips. So I just want to give the love to Geno and be like, look, this is well beyond he's an okay quarterback. Like, no, this dude's literally playing top 5 style QB. If we give him some time, look at the numbers he's putting up when he's under a lot of duress. Imagine if he's getting the Sam Darnold treatment where he has, I don't know, a day and a half to throw a ball. Good for Sam, but let's see Sam under this kind of duress and he'll crumble like most quarterbacks.
The O-line, it wasn't great. At one point in the game, though, especially after the first half, we were looking, okay, Aiden Hutchinson, no sacks. They held up pretty well, holding him back. He wasn't getting to him routinely. The pressure from the Detroit, front line was getting there, but I felt like they held up well. And then, toward the end of the game, it really looked like, I mean, when you're down 2 scores, they know exactly what you're going to do every single play. And that's how you get to that 56 attempts number that's on the right side for Geno.
Yeah, you can just tee off, right? And they got pressure elsewhere besides Aiden Hutchinson, which is probably the first this year. Well, it is stat wise, at least, right, that they've done that. And they got some sacks from dudes who are not named Aiden. And this is just a likely or predictable consequence of the current state of the line. Now, I saw Haynes in there for a bit. I saw Haynes mixing it up, getting a couple of pancakes here and there, but I didn't. It's hard to watch the line play the first watch through. So tomorrow, when I rewatch it, I'm going to really be trying to focus on the Haynes snaps. Was there a difference between him and Bradford? If others in the chat saw stuff, I'm not really sure. But it's not quite there, not quite good enough yet. And, you mix in some untimely penalties or snaps that are happening before they're supposed to, and you get a recipe for not quite enough crispness to put away a team that can go blow for blow with you.
Looking at some of the other, we had one question in the chat. I saw Gambling Goat said his wife asked, why pay the big guy DK all that money instead of protecting your quarterback? I think DK was essentially paid for in this offseason. I think where they had the opportunity, they could have paid Damian Lewis, their left guard, going into the season. they decided to use that money elsewhere, more on the defensive side. And then you're talking about, do you have Leonard Williams and bring him back? Or do you, there's other free agents that I think that they looked at and maybe saw more value in on the defense than paying a guard. But that's it. It's tough when it comes to paying the offensive linemen and the guards. I know it's hard in the offseason to think that it's going to matter that much, but then you get into the season, you're like, oh yeah, that's we could use those guys on the offensive line.
Yeah, I'm with you for sure. The way I would answer it too is, look, DK Metcalf has put up 3 100-yard games in a row.
Yeah, yeah, DK not the problem.
And he was a butt cheek away from another touchdown. Right. I mean, like that's another 30 yards instead of a 29-yard touchdown. It's a 30-yard touchdown if his cheek doesn't come down or whatever it was, his knee potentially. But whatever. Butt's more fun to say at the half-yard line. I mean, yes, he had the fumble, and yes, he has a holding. I get it. That's going to happen. And he had a drop on a ball I think he should have caught. When you throw 12 balls DK's way, whatever the number was, he's going to drop a few. That's what's going to happen. But he also had an awesome contested catch really early in the game, like the first drive. Great catch, so
he was part of the problem in terms of fumbling the football.
Sure, but, you can't fumble, of course. But the thing is, like, it's like he's done that before. Remember the San Francisco game, was it last year or the year before, where he's trying to get like extra yards down the sideline and he gets stripped, and then it happens again. So you're like, okay, this is a problem for him. Maybe he could be a bit more protective of the ball. I'm sure he'll get an earful about that. But if we're going to rah and be so pumped that Kenneth Walker can do a somersault left and, take a jump to the right and then do the time warp over, Anzalone's face and then go for more yards. If we're going to cheer that, then you can't poo-poo DK for trying to get yards too. It's the same thing. They're trying to get yards for the team. And one ended in a bad result, and one ended in the most incredible thing I've ever seen on the football field. So,
yeah, I mean, shoot, if DK ends up breaking one of those tackles, then he probably picks up 10 more yards. So that's all he was trying to do. And I think that, for as much as, and early on, you're trying to be aggressive. I understand it. It's just, the outcome was unfortunate.
Yep. And I see New Gash commenting over there saying, oh, he was part of the problem. And I know New Gash. I know you are a critic of DK, even when he puts up big numbers. So, hey, we appreciate that you're here, and there's room for other opinions and voices for, no problem whatsoever. It's all good. We could talk about it openly about it. So, but Brandon, what else stood out to you besides the fact that, look, K9 is, well, let's talk about that for a second, if you're okay with it. I know it's only 12 carries. He had a couple of receptions too. And where would you put K9 in the hierarchy of NFL running backs at this point?
He's got to be up there. The key with him is that we have to, we see these injuries here and there, and we need him on the field like as much as possible. And it felt like at times that I wanted to see him out there, but I also understand that you want to keep him on a little bit of a pitch count too, coming back from his oblique injury. After that play, though, I thought to myself and to the rest of the chat and Discord, his obliques must be fine, because I don't think you're doing backflips and front flips and then pushing ahead and running in for 3 touchdowns with any kind of soreness in the oblique area.
Yeah, if it's sore, he's working through it, right? That's okay. So he's really special. He's a really special back, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think he has to answer your question, I think he has the capability of being top 5, and I think other people seeing that on Monday Night Football, what he's able to do, the athleticism, the breakaway speed. If he's able to keep that up consistently through this season and, have multiple seasons like that, he's going to be seen as a top 5 back easy. He may even be seen as that now.
Yeah, no, that's I love how you broke it down there too. And, I know he gets tethered to Breece Hall because they went in the same draft, and Breece Hall went, a few picks earlier, et cetera, et cetera. And you look at Breece Hall's year, besides the Jets losing to the Broncos is so funny.
Yeah, that was in the rain. Funny. I don't think you can compare Hall's game.
No. It's not just that, not just that game, but he's not having a stellar year at all, but neither are the Jets offensively. But I'm just saying he was tethered last year, and what happens is because of fantasy and because of, well, really fantasy, people make a conclusion like, oh, Brees Hall is this much better than K9. It's like, well, now that he's in a different offense that really focuses on creating space, you could see the Michigan State guy come out, right? It's a little bit more collegey for him out there, which is to say El Dangeroso for the rest of the league. So I'm super happy about what we're seeing there. But you're right. I know he can't prevent injuries, but man, do we just need him to stay healthy. It's a completely different offensive feel when he's in the backfield versus Sharps. And Sharps is good. He's a good change.
Oh, yeah.
But K9's just a different type of beast, man.
Simon Curtis and chat saying all our running backs have been lucky to always have eyes on them, waiting for the next beast since Marshawn. I think that's part of it too, as a Seahawks fan. Well, I'm just a fan of running backs myself. I grew up cheering on Chris Warren, and then we had Sean Alexander, then Marshawn, and a few guys in between there. But I'm always looking for that next guy, and it does feel like Walker could be that guy. And then, like you said, Charbonnet mixing it up as well. He had a nice tough run on the sideline where he put his head down and was plowing through a dude. So if they can find a way in this offense, and with Grubb, like, we saw a lot of cool stuff. And they were able, credit to the fact that they were able to hang in there despite being down 2 scores. That goes to the play calling, and that goes to the ability of Geno to be back there and dance around and make guys miss. And it's the fact that they hung in there, that was positive. But I would like to see us maybe not playing from behind so much. And again, I go back to maybe being a little critical of the defense today.
Yeah, I think we have to hop over to the defense right after this great question from a member of ours, Stephen Rasmussen. By the way, those that are out there that may be new, or if you've been here for a while and you want to join, obviously we have getintheflock.com on Patreon. That's an easy squeezy way. That's fantastic. We love it. And if you want to, joining here on YouTube, this way you get access to everything we're doing and just, knowing when we're going live and all that stuff. So we appreciate everybody who's chipping in anywhere you're doing it, or if you're just here commenting, liking, and sharing it, that's awesome too. Brandon, this is a pretty cool question from Steve Rasmussen. Wait, where'd it go? He had the one about
it's up there.
About Chris Carson.
Oh, Chris. Oh, healthy Carson versus healthy K9.
Yeah, Simon. Sorry. Yeah, healthy Carson versus healthy K9. I have an answer, but why don't you go first?
Oh, it's easy. Healthy K9 for me. He has the Carson. He was a power back, but he didn't have that breakaway speed, and so I liked Carson a lot, just in terms of, one, he had an amazing balance. He was able to plow through dudes. He was missing that extra gear that K9 has. And so I will always take that extra gear over. And when he has some of those other things, I don't think he had the power. I don't think K9 has the power that Carson does, but the extra gear to me is what I like.
Yeah. And K9's not like a light runner though. Like he's not like he's just not the power dude that Carson was. And Carson of the modern Seahawk era, he's my favorite Seahawk of all time. I love Chris Carson. I love him. But the answer is K9. And it's not particularly close. We're talking about different levels of talent. And Chris Carson was a heck of a running back. I loved him. But it's still going to be K9. So, yeah.
And, Marshawn Lynch, like blue and green zone saying,
he was pretty good. Yeah, I love Lamp. I love Lynch. He was pretty good too, Brandon. So what do you think? Should we talk a little bit about this defense and what we saw and what was kind of irking us?
Yeah. There are a lot of things that irked me about the defense. It's just that going into this game, and you look, maybe it's not, maybe I don't want to be looking at the defensive stats up on screen, more so the stats of Jared Goff here. 18 of 18, 292 yards, 155.8 quarterback rating. On a day where you had to know that Goff, the dude loves throwing it straight down the field. Like, if it's around the hash marks, that's where the dude wants to throw the football. And I felt like 90% of those 18 passes were right around the hash marks. And So the inability to take that away so much, I guess that's what frustrated me the most about the defense today.
Similar for me too. And I thought that Baker was going to play this game, and I think he would have been a nice asset to have as a pretty good coverage linebacker. And I think we missed that. I think we just missed that because it's that stuff right over the middle and that extra good coverage guy. And man, this is another one on 3 and 3 out. We talked about like sneaky Broncos, because you could probably know where I'm going. Sneaky players that could be a challenge. And Tim Patrick showed up today. And that stunk. That stunk to see, man. Tim Patrick's making plays and either beating Trey Brown or the zone shifts are not exactly right. And then once you start to see a little degradation in this depth, it's a pretty good depth team. However, the big plays where I was going, oh man, that should have been better. That could have worked out better. And I'm like, oh, that was Gibson. Or I'm like, oh man, that was Kobe Bryant. It was stuff like that happened quite a bit where, hey, it's the NFL. So can't complain about it. And injuries are going to happen. That's just part of life, especially in the NFL. But a lot of it to me felt like that. It's like, oh dude, it's not our one, it's not our two. It's a backup that's not quite there. He's in position, but doesn't quite make the play. And then we had other stuff. We had the jailbreak on the 70-yarder too, man. I didn't see specifically who should have carried with him. They were saying on the broadcast, they were trying to pin it on Spoon, but Spoon was with Amon-Ra. Like, I felt like it's like, well, if he lets Amon-Ra go, then he's wide open. So like, is that really Spoon's guy to carry him over? Because I think it was somebody else's responsibility, but I don't know if you saw it differently.
I'd have to go back and look. I think that depending on the defense and their coverage, it would, if they were in zone, then it probably was more the zone for Spoon to then drop back and carry down the sideline. But, it was right in that kind of intercept point that they were getting the ball to Williams.
Yeah.
And so it ended up being a really good throw and beat the defense pretty badly. Northwest Gambit member for 11 months. We needed Goff to goof, but couldn't get pressure. And I think a lot of that, especially on 18 for 18, it comes down to not having pressure, comes down to coverage. I mean, the reason why the Seahawks have had so much success in Detroit is because they've been able to pressure them, get them into a turnover, and you end up winning the turnovers versus Detroit. Generally, when we've won in Detroit, that didn't happen today.
Agree. And then the one side of the ball, or the other side of the defensive part that we didn't talk about too much yet, was I thought the second half run defense got a lot better. Now, we couldn't stop them anyway. They found other ways to move the ball, but it wasn't the giant. It didn't feel like the giant gashing down our throats, which we kind of saw in the first half. So I felt like that improved as the game did wear on. But then they just broke some, then Goff just kind of got a little bit more on fire there. So, but did you see anything in particular about did you feel the run defense did improve, or was I just kind of feeling that, but it really wasn't what was happening?
I mean, they did get the one stop in the fourth quarter. So I guess you could say it improved with regard to, they were able to stop at the one time. So it didn't feel all that great to me all day, but
wow,
interesting how time of possession well, a couple of those Detroit scores were quick because they had the turnover early on. That led to a quick score. They had the 70-yard touchdown to J-Mo. That was a quick score. And so, we ended up with the ball quite a bit. And so we did win time of possession. Did not win turnovers though.
Right. And the two, it's still 2-0 in turnovers wise, 2 versus 0. The interception with a minute to go, I'm going to just toss that one aside and say, fine, but we still did not win that. But the stats up top, when you were going through them, it didn't feel that lopsided for Seattle. I guess it was just because we were chasing the entire time. And when you're chasing, as Adam would say, if he were here, not stuck on a plane, yards don't matter when you're chasing that much. But man, The other stuff, I mean, we won in every category, but the where it counts, I suppose.
Yeah. The points generally where it matters. So yeah. And I can't get over that 18 of 18 stat line.
I
And
know,
someone
I know.
in chat was pointing out that Sheil Kapadia saying that it was an NFL record. That doesn't feel good.
No, that's rough. Whoever said it earlier, and it may have been you, just it's a matter of not getting enough pressure on Goff. There was some,
Some.
there was
Little bit.
some, but if you juxtapose it versus how much they made Geno have to move and escape versus Goff, he didn't have to move and escape that much. First of all, he can't. He's got okay, like side to side pocket movement, but he's not getting out of half the stuff Geno got out of tonight. He's just not. So, it's that one to me is, again, I kind of started at with saying, look, let these teams meet again in late January and give us our 3 or 4 dogs on the defensive line. I'm not saying we absolutely win and it's an absolute, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's a different ball game. It's a completely different ball game if our best defensive linemen are in from a run stopping perspective and then just getting pressure. We still got some pressure, but with very little up the gut. What if you change that? If you change that, it could do more stunts, and they had to rely on the blitz a bit more, which didn't quite get home. You saw Witherspoon a couple times coming in,
Yeah.
almost
Never
there,
got home.
never got home, right? So you take those risks, and you've got to get home at least once or twice. And that's another thing. Detroit did it, and they were able to when they brought 5. They were able to get home a few times. So again, it all adds up to a fairly close game. But Brandon, we're on the road now. We're 3-1. All right,
Still at the top of the division.
Yeah,
because Niners
back
1 game
home.
behind us. That's fine.
It's all good. You have a short week and go play a Giants team coming off a mini bye, and you're a better team than the Giants. They're playing okay, but we're a better team than the Giants. So at home, we've got to just then get the groove back, confuse the crap out of Daniel Jones, and just put them in the ground. That's what we need to do in that game.
Carly Perkins saying, well, we'll get to see how we respond as a newly coached team to a loss like this. I think coming out of this is probably not too tough of, as a road loss against a really good team. I think one of these losses is a little bit easier to shake, and hopefully it gives them a lot of tape on what to improve on the defensive side of the ball then going into the game coming up against the New York Giants, who, the Giants, if you then allow Daniel Jones to go 18 out of 18, then we're really going to be talking about problems right here next week.
I think the big thing that's going to potentially happen is, I think Seattle avoided the fraud alert that would have happened if we didn't battle back at all. I think that actually, they did well enough so the national media is not going to be like, well, they're just absolute frauds. Look, they played nobody, and then they get a 40 burger, and they got blown out the building. I think we competed well enough that won't be the narrative, but there will be some of that there. That's like, oh yeah, sure. When it was Bo Nix, you were great, but Goff went 18 for 18. And you know what? It ain't wrong. That's factually correct, right? So let that be the next couple of days from the national media. It's fine. Go get right. Get a game plan together and just go crush the crap out of Daniel Jones. 0-18 with 18 interceptions, which R Ryan 911 saying. That'd be a good line. Yeah. Last time we played Daniel Jones, do you remember how many sacks we had against the Giants?
Oh, was it like 7? That was Witherspoon's coming out party was against the Giants. I want to say it was at least 7 sacks.
I think it was 11 because wasn't it an NFL record?
It was something crazy.
I know I was there with Wilson Kahn at Lumen East Rutherford, and it was a Monday Night Football game last year. But I think I could look it up real quick. I think it was 11 because I remember it being like, this is an NFL record. It's insane. So
I don't know if Blue and Green Zone is saying it was 6 or if he is saying that we're going to average 6 sacks a game when Uchenna gets back.
Yeah, I think Uchenna ended up having 2 that game versus Daniel Jones last year too. So it'd be very nice to get him back.
Schrichter saying, I'm sorry, but you can't let Goff go perfect like that and say you have a good secondary. For me, secondary is on a hard fraud watch. Love did go out partway through the game, but yeah, with those receivers, with Witherspoon, I think Woolen played a solid game because I don't remember seeing a whole lot of completed passes on Woolen in coverage. Spoon had a rough day. He got put on his back on one play
Oh
where,
man.
where they gave up a
Whew.
50-yard run. I think, was it a run or was it just a run after catch?
I forget. That
But it
was
was
rough though.
Montgomery. And it must have been a run after catch because Montgomery had 12 carries
Yeah.
for 40 yards. And yeah, he had a 40-yard catch was his one catch on the day. And yeah, Spoon was flat on his back.
That was a rough sequence for him because he gets blasted. Like he's trying to initiate contact. Montgomery is a strong dude. It's not like it's helmet to helmet on purpose, but they definitely clash heads like battering rams, and he just kind of folds, and then he gets back up, and you can tell his legs are not quite there yet because they ended up showing like a horizontal view of it later or a close-up view, and you can see he doesn't have his legs under him quite yet after just getting floored, and he gets like trounced by like a guard or something like that that's now downfield. Rough. It's one play, it's one play, right? So it's a-okay. Rough one that's going to be on film, but overall too, again, you're going up against, I'm not making excuses. You're going up against like Amon-Ra St. Brown and talent like that. He's an all pro. He's an all pro last year. He's really, really good. So, but to the point,
you also left him wide open in the end zone on one play where he just
that
able
was
to tap his toes.
Look, I mean, 18 for 18, and they put up 42 points. You can't escape that. So I'm not trying to make excuses for that. We got to do a lot better than that.
The only excuse we need, Clinton, is right on screen. Samuel Gelber saying Brandon Perna cursed us, that we shouldn't have told him about the Let's Ride curse. But I was trying to call a curse truce, and then he brought out two wheels this past week as part of his power rankings. We get cursed on the small wheel. It's not the Seahawks' fault. It's the stupid curse wheel.
I don't understand why there's a second wheel. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not sure if he's always done the second wheel, but I mean, is not one wheel enough for the cursing? I did not know that, but you cannot escape the power of that wheel because it's just like the Madden cover. It has taken down way too many teams and players at this point.
It cursed both of Christian McCaffrey's Achilles. Like the fact that it didn't want to just stop with one. It said, no, Christian, both your Achilles. The Madden curse is taking it. And the snail, he's RIP to the snail in chat. We didn't go undefeated, so I guess I'll see y'all next year. It was a good season.
Oh, snail,
we're gonna miss you, buddy.
You're spot on, bud. We'll see you for draft season because that's what people really love anyway, right? It's not the actual games; it's the speculation of what players might be. Funny stuff.
Yeah, this curse truce is off, Gambling Goat. Let's Ride curse is coming back in a big way for sure. I don't know why it matters because we don't get anything out of it for the Broncos, but other than Brandon Perna's pain over on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, he has enough pain. he's dealing with enough pain. I mean, that's so. Bo Nix has 60 yards passing and wins the game. Amazing, right? So, anytime we could revel in the Jets just floundering, I'm going to take my shots at them because I grew up on Long Island, and boy, do I have disdain for the New York Jets.
Garen Taylor in chat of Guaranteed Barbecue. Clinton, where did you find that hat? I've been looking for one. If someone can find one, you got to stop in Smelterville, Idaho. Stop by Garen's barbecue shack there and bring him one of those hats. Where did you get it?
I stole this off of Chuck Knox's head in 1988. In fact, at the Kingdom, as I flew across country, Brandon, and I took it.
Still looks very good for being, that old.
I've kept it in a sealed thing for like a lot of years. I'm not going to do the math live, but a lot of years. I broke it out this year last year because they brought the throwbacks back. So I broke it out. But it was either that or I went to simplyseattle.com, and Simply Seattle is an awesome site. I'm not sure if they still have it, but they did. And I got it for last Christmas.
There you go. Simply Seattle. Carly saying we'll have to settle for 16-1. I believe you meant 19-1, Carly.
Yeah, she just flipped the 6 and the 9, which is, that happens. It's a
easy
Gemini.
Easy mistake.
Happens all the time. We get it, Car. No worries.
Well, big thanks to everyone joining us in chat tonight. Yes, it was a loss, but this team will be back. We'll bounce back from this, play the Giants, then beat the stupid 49ers. Then we're going to be feeling fine.
Brandon, we got two Seahawks games. Let's say tonight's over already. In my world, it's already past midnight, so I'm back to a pumpkin. But we got 2 games in 10 days.
Yeah.
So
game coming up next Sunday, and then Thursday night football against those San Francisco 49ers.
You just bounce right back. It's not a big deal. And you beat a less good team and just get to 4-1. Just go recapture this and get geared up. Giants are okay, but they're still bottom third. We have to beat them.
We got the snail with a $5 super chat. Could be worse. Did you see Ashton Jeanty? I see. I didn't see him because I can't pronounce his name against WSU Saturday. We need to draft him. I would assume that you're talking about an offensive lineman, Snail, and if that's the case, then I would agree.
Yeah, fill us in. I'm not sure who beat the Cougs. I'm not sure who played the Cougs for that. Oh, it was Boise State. Boise State beat the Cougs. I do know this because I remember the blue field, of course. So it was like they blew the Cougs out. But I don't know where Alshante plays. Let fill us in.
Yep, a lot of time to talk draft. There's plenty of football still going on this season. Our Seahawks are in the lead in the NFC West. We don't need to be talking about who we're going to draft next. Come on.
Not quite yet, Brandon. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.